All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, what we're going to do is build out a clear, step-by-step roadmap for anyone out there who wants to jump into a career in data analytics and turn that curiosity into a real valuable skill set. The world today is absolutely swimming in data. But here's the thing. In its raw form, it's often just a chaotic, almost unreadable mess of numbers, text, and code. I mean, look at this. It's overwhelming, right? By itself, it doesn't really tell you anything. It's just noise. So the big question, the fundamental question for any data analyst is this. How do you take all that chaos and turn it into clarity, into something that actually means something? And that is the journey of a data analyst. It's all about finding the story that's hidden deep inside all that noise. So this explainer, think of it as your guide to getting started on that adventure. Okay, so your first step on this adventure is to really get a handle on the landscape you'll be working in, the raw material of your new craft. So at its most basic level, data is just raw, unprocessed information. But it's way more than that, right? It's the key ingredient for making smarter decisions in pretty much any field you can think of. And you're going to run into data in about three main flavors. You've got your structured data, that's the neat and tidy stuff organized in tables and spreadsheets. Then there's semi-structured data. It has some organization, like tags, but it's not super rigid, think JSON files. And finally, you have unstructured data. This is the wild stuff. Images, audio files, videos, you name it. Okay, so every hero needs their gear, right? For a data analyst, your core toolkit really comes down to two absolutely essential tools to get started. There's this great quote from an industry expert with like 17 years of experience. They said, you have to speak a new language. You have to speak SQL. And that's it, right there. Your first and most important skill isn't some fancy software. It's learning the actual language of data. So your starting toolkit is actually pretty simple, but it is incredibly powerful. First, you've got to learn SQL. This is how you're going to talk to databases. And hey, a little pro tip for you, really focus on getting good at window functions. They are an absolute game changer for doing any kind of complex analysis. Then you need to master a business intelligence tool, a BI tool. This is your lens for seeing the data. You can start with something like Power BI or Tableau. In fact, you can grab the free version, Tableau Public, and start building out your portfolio today. Now, having a BI tool is awesome, but you have to remember, it's just a paintbrush. You're the artist. You still have to learn the craft of telling a good story with your data. And that means things like choosing the right chart for what you're trying to say, keeping things simple and focused, and making sure it's all crystal clear for whoever's looking at it. And this brings us to a super important point. I want you to remember the 80-20 rule. When you're learning this stuff, you should be spending 80% of your time doing, actively practicing with real projects. Only 20% of your time should be spent passively watching videos or reading. Seriously, practice is everything. Okay, so now you've got the tools, but listen, that's just the beginning. The next step, and you could argue it's the most important one, is learning to think like an analyst. It's so easy to get stuck in this trap of just collecting tools for your resume. Oh, I know this, I know that. But the real value, the thing that's going to make you stand out, comes from the mindset you build. And this quote right here just nails it. Your goal is not to sound smart. It's all about to sound understood. I mean, that's the whole ballgame. It's not about showing off with fancy jargon. Your job is all about communication. It's making sure that anyone, even someone totally non-technical, can understand the story your data is telling. And this is where those crucial soft skills come into play. We're talking about analytical thinking. Slowing down, taking a big, messy problem and breaking it into smaller questions. It's about problem solving, being super curious and always asking why to get to the real root of an issue. You'll need some basic stats for sure, just to understand what the numbers are actually saying. And finally, storytelling. You have to be able to guide your audience through the data, give them context, and help them see what you see. Because honestly, what good is a brilliant insight if nobody gets it? So once you land that first job, that's not the end of the road. No way. It's actually the starting line for a really clear and honestly, an incredibly rewarding career path. Your career path will probably look something like this. You'll start out as a junior analyst, really focusing on learning the business and handling specific tasks. From there, you'll move up to a senior analyst. That's when you start tackling more complex, kind of ambiguous problems and even mentoring the junior folks. And then you can become a lead analyst. This is where you shift into setting the strategy, driving real business impact, and asking those big picture questions that maybe nobody else is even thinking of. And the whole time, you have to remember, the learning never, ever stops. The best analysts out there know that getting it right is way more important than getting it fast. They're not afraid to ask questions, they're not afraid to make mistakes, and they are always, always looking for feedback so they can get better. So, there you have it. That's the roadmap. We've talked about the concepts, the tools, the mindset. It's all laid out for you. The data is waiting. The real question is, what story will you help it tell?